Hi, I'm Mike Brock with Counseling and Evaluation Services. Today we're going to talk about why this is the best time to get your driver's license back. People put off getting their driver's license back for many reasons. Sometimes they're still drinking or using and they recognize that they're not safe behind the wheel, or that they can't really point to a recovery that would convince the hearing officer that they are sober and making a better life for themselves. And if you're still using or drinking, you shouldn't try to get your license back. It's not a good idea. You owe it to the other drivers on the road to be a safe driver. And if you're using a substance and driving, you should, then you're not going to be a safe driver. Sometimes people fall into a comfortable pattern. They may have gotten sober, but they may have gotten in the habit of riding their bike to work. They live close enough to ride their bike or walk to work. Or they have people who will drive them around. Frequently it is the case that a wife will drive or parents will drive somebody who doesn't have a license to and from wherever they have to be. And they get in the habit of relying on people for rides. And simply it becomes their way of life, and it becomes a comfortable pattern, and they don't try to get their license back. The problem with this is that inevitably there comes a time when you do need the license, and if you wait until you need the license, for example, you get sick and you need to get yourself to the doctor, or your driver gets sick, or your driver is unable to take you because their shift changes, and the person that you were relying on to take you to work can no longer drive you because you work a different shift. Sometimes people get discouraged. Sometimes they've been turned down once or twice, frequently because of an evaluation that was not done properly and did not give the hearing officer the necessary information for him to conclude that you were sober and doing all the right things. And if you're turned down once or twice, you may become discouraged, and you may feel that, well, it's a waste of your time and money to keep doing this. So for all of these reasons, people will sometimes choose not to get their license back when they're actually eligible and could, in fact, get their license back if they were to go through the process, get a good evaluation, have a hearing, and then usually when you get your license back for the first year, it's with a breathalyzer, and you have to follow those rules for a year, and then you can go back and get your full license restored. A lot of people delay on this, and you don't want to delay until you need the license, because at that time it will still take you a significant amount of time to get your license back, and you will not have that time. You will be out of time. So now is the best time. Prevention is always better than cure, and the best thing to do is to get it when you're eligible, and then you'll have it when you need it. Another reason that you should try to get your license back as soon as possible is that the process gets harder all the time. When I first started doing substance use evaluations, it was much simpler. It was a one-time event. You went in for the hearing officer either did or did not restore your license. There was no drug screen. There was no restricted license for a year and then you get a full license. There was no breathalyzer. All of that has changed. It's become more complicated. Now, in addition to my evaluation, you have to fill out your portion of the form as well. You have to get letters of support. So it becomes more difficult all the time, and it's better to do it while you can, and while it's maybe less expensive than it will be down the road. We don't know what changes they're going to make in the future. So that's another reason to get it done as soon as possible. Another important point is that if you're turned down, they have to give a reason for turning you down. Not everybody's successful at their first hearing. However, if they say, you know, you simply haven't done enough therapy or AA, we don't see that you've done anything specifically to address this problem, we want you to go to some AA meetings, or we want you to go to some therapy, or we want you to go to a self-help group. It doesn't have to be AA, it could be rational recovery or something that's not religious. But we want to see that you're doing something to address these issues. Sometimes, also, I mentioned a bad evaluation, but sometimes you might have poor letters of support. And if you're an AA member, and you've got people in AA that will write letters for you, and maybe a sponsor that will go to the hearing for you or with you, then that's a real positive. You've got, you can talk the language of recovery, and you can show sign-in sheets of how often you're going to AA. But if you're not in a 12-step program, then the only real proof that you have that people are willing to vouch for your sobriety are the letters that you get of support. And if those letters aren't signed, dated, notarized, have your last drink date and the contact date, or the contact information for the person writing the letter, those letters are not useful. And therefore you basically have only your word, your say-so, that you're sober. And hearing officers see a lot of people who are not entirely honest, and they don't always accept your say-so. They want to see some kind of substantiation. But they have to tell you what they need from you. And then you have the opportunity to go out and get it, and then go back in a year, or sometimes it's less than a year, sometimes it's 6 months, depending on how close they feel you are to being ready to drive. With a good evaluation, your odds are greatly improved. Of course, that's what I do. And I'm always trying to be aware and making myself aware of what it is that they're looking for at the Secretary of State. And I've been doing this for many, many years, and have a pretty good handle on the kinds of things that the hearing officers want to see. Of course, they want you to be sober, but they want to see evidence of that too. They want to see that you're rebuilding your life. They want to see that you have a better job, better relationships, more money in your pocket, sober hobbies, sober friends, that you're not going to the bars, that you're not hanging out with the same people, doing the same things and expecting a different result. They know that if you're sober, you're going to be able to point to successes in your life. And by successes, I don't mean that you're setting the world on fire. I just mean that you are a more productive member of society, you're better to yourself and to other people than you were during the time that you were drinking or doing drugs. And hearing officers are very knowledgeable and very good at picking that up. Also, not only is a good evaluation very important, because a bad evaluation will sink the boat. You have no chance if somebody puts something in the evaluation that is just not credible, if they leave convictions off your record, or if they say that they give you a guarded prognosis because they don't think that you're sober. That evaluation is going to result in a denial for sure. So it's better, actually, if I don't think that you're ready to go back, I'd rather tell you, I don't really think that you're ready. And I send my evaluation to you, and you send it in. So you look the evaluation over and decide whether or not you think this is a winner. Because I don't want you to be surprised, and I want you to have the best chance possible. But sometimes it's better. If you're not ready yet, it's better to wait. But if you are ready, you can be ready, and still a bad evaluation will sink the boat. Okay, and I've seen it happen. I've seen examples of work that was not up to standard. In addition to having a good evaluation, if you can afford it, it helps to have a good attorney. A good attorney these days costs around $1,500, at least the ones that I work with. That's about what they charge. And the ones that I work with are very thorough, they're very knowledgeable, they know what to expect at the hearing. And you have that preparation. A good attorney will also prepare you for what to expect, as will I. And the attorneys that I do a lot of work with, one of the attorneys I do the most work with is Matthew Zick, the person with whom I wrote the book. And Matthew tells me that his success rate with our evaluations is about 95%. Now, some people will tell you that they win 99% of the time, and that's nonsense. If they keep going back, they may eventually win 99% of the cases. They keep people that persist. But on the first time, Matthew's rate of 95% is extremely, extremely good. And a lot of times people that don't get their license back are those who sabotage themselves in some way. Either they're still drinking or using drugs and it's apparent, or they have an attitude of, give me my license back, I'm entitled, I waited long enough, which doesn't fly. Or they ramble at the hearing and they put their foot in their mouth in some way or another. Oftentimes it is something that the person does to sabotage their own case. And insofar as possible, we'll prepare you for what to expect and how to conduct yourself. If I find a person rambling during my session or offering information that I haven't asked for, I tell them, you cannot do this. You have to listen to the question, answer the question, and shut up. And I don't say that to be rude, but the hearing officer's on a timetable, and there's certain information that he wants, and if you're giving him something that is completely irrelevant, or you're rambling or contradicting yourself during the course of the hearing, you are not building your credibility. So we go over all that, and a good attorney will go over all that with you, and you will be prepared when you walk in. So most of the time, you will win if you do not sabotage yourself. It's very important. If you are denied, you must do what the hearing officer suggests. The hearing officer will typically say, you need to do more AA, or you need to do some therapy, or you need better letters, or you need to do something. And whatever it is that they suggest, that is something you need to do. You can't go back there with the same evidence in 6 months or a year and expect that you will be successful when you weren't successful with that evidence the last time. And if you do what is recommended and you go back there, then you've taken away their reasons for denying you, and most of the time you're going to be successful. So the important point is, now is the time to get your license back. Don't wait until you absolutely have to have it, because by then it will be too late. You want a better life. If you want a better life, in this society, that means that you have to have a driver's license. So move forward, face your fear, get the driver's license back. Don't be afraid of getting denied. If you get denied, again, we find out what the reason was, and we correct that, and you go back and you get your license, and you have a normal life. Sometimes getting busted for drinking and driving is the best thing that ever happened to a person, because it sobers them up and gives them the chance at life that they were denying themselves, getting in their own way through abusing substances. So give me a call, and I'll be happy to meet with you, do the evaluation, and get you started on the life that you're trying to build. Thank you.